All right, we should be live. Welcome back, everyone, to yet another Moonshire Monday. Very happy to be here. Very excited to be showing off some of the new progress. A lot of the stuff I worked on was related to this like swimming and water system. I reworked the weather. I added the fireflies back. There's parallax effects to the like airborne particles. I worked more on pixel art. I worked on my stream playlist. The music for this stream playlist should be a little bit better because in the previous stream some of the songs were a little too long, some of them were kind of boring or they didn't fit in, so I spent a lot of time last week going through every song, making sure that they were all good. None of them were too long or too annoying, so we should be in good shape. I'm excited because last week I noticed that the music was pretty nice. It was lined up nicely, so hopefully we get that again this week. But I'm seeing a lot of folks in chat already. Thank you so much for being here. To all the folks that were here before the stream started, like Baron and Omelet Frog and Rick Carlson, Rethanon, Allfather, Ducky Minecraft, Rethanon not, and Marignan, Drew YouTube, Cutie Pie, Defy, Blank Faith. Thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate the support, and I'm excited to do more stuff for Moonshire. I'll be showing off some of the water stuff. Hello from Twitch. Thank you for being here, Bayron. Thank you for testing out Twitch as well. So the first thing I wanted to mention is the swimming sprite. So I showed this a little bit last week, but it was incomplete. And now it's looking a lot better. So the shadow changes. When the player is in the water, it's a different shadow compared to on land. And you can see that the color is different and the size is different. So any given vessel, any given object that goes in the water is able to have customization for this, where you have a default land sprite, and then you also have the wild immersed in deep liquid. Because I use my phrasing very loosely, or I should say I've tried to be generic because I'm talking about water here. But I want this to also work for other stuff, like if there was an acid pool. If you fell into an acid pool, you need to get out of it. Or if there's lava. Or I'm even thinking about doing something creative, like a pit of like tall grass, maybe, or maybe a spike pit. And jumping into the spike pit has a similar, probably not like this like immersive thing, but some aspects of this I think can be reused for other ideas. Hello, I was sick yesterday, but I'm starting to feel a bit better. That's awesome. I get sick probably like once or twice a year, and it's always just so rough. I had COVID twice, and each of those times was just so annoying and so brutal. The player sprite is moving up and down with a shader or changing Y. It's actually... so the way the shader works is you can see the cutoff line. It's this blue line. So this like light blue line, that's the cutoff point. And the cutoff point stays motionless relative to the player's like collider. So if I turn on colliders, we can see it more clearly. And yes, the player's sprite bobs up and down, the line remains constant, and the player's physics remains constant. COVID was the worst. I couldn't move for an entire day. My muscles just wouldn't let me. Same here. I had the same experience, and then the worst part for me is that it lasted for weeks afterwards. Like, I would feel better quickly, but then I would feel like a little sick for a long time. It just took a long time to recover from. It looks really nice. Thank you. Every time I see the engine running your game, I want to see it 50 times. Thank you. I mean, I think that there's some aspects of the game and the engine that do look good, but there's other parts that need some improvement. Like, even this scene right here, there's no decoration on the floor. I'm still trying to figure out how to make that look good. As a game dev, do you specifically work on things on stream that you think will be entertaining to watch, or do you just do whatever would normally work on? I ask because I have trouble with that. I have trouble with that too. And the truth is, I just do whatever I think would be entertaining. Or rather, it's kind of a combination of all those things. I would like to be productive if I could be. And that's why, like, I have my sprites of humans pulled up, because I think that part of the stream I want to do some pixel art on the humans some more. And if I make progress on this, that would be productive. But the truth is, streaming game development is so hard because game development takes a lot of your concentration. especially coding. I really struggle a lot with coding on stream just because when I'm writing code, it takes all of my attention. So I tend to try to do tasks that don't require my constant attention because I need to read chat. I think what makes my streams entertaining is that I'm constantly talking and I'm talking with the chat and answering questions. And when I'm coding, it snaps me out of that focus state too frequently where it's hard for me to make progress. So that's why I tend to stick with explaining code, because I pull up my code all the time to talk about certain aspects and talk about how things work. But in terms of actually developing things, I don't really do code development on stream. But I do a lot of pixel art on stream. I think that's good. In the future, I'm going to be doing level design on stream. I used to do like tiled stuff on stream too, so I can show what that looks like. If you make your levels with tiled or whatever level editor you use, I think that doing level editing is a really nice thing to do because, for me at least, the process of like drawing in stuff or like the long strokes of designing things, that is a bit easier for me to do as like a side task where I'm still focusing on chat first and foremost. Very good insight, thank you. Sure. So like these human things, this is something that I'll probably work on later on today, and I think that sprite work, it tends to be a pretty good middle ground where I think it's fun to watch people draw pixel art, and also I need to make pixel art, so it's a win-win there. That makes sense. Nothing more cozy than this. Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. I was going to show that there's a little bit more with this that I wanted to show off, is that a big reason why I went with this shader approach for the player is because I want this shader approach to work for more than just the player. So what makes this setup so nice is that I don't need a dedicated set of swimming sprites anymore. The sprites that I'm using for this swim animation, it's just the player's normal like sprites, and I'm reusing them. So actually, let me pull that up too. Go to the hero and then the full. Whoops. So the player's swimming sprite used to be this, where I had a dedicated version of the player's sprites where it has like the water ripple and it's chopped off at the bottom. But instead, now, I can actually probably pull up the exact animations that we're using. If I go over to Hero, there's a swim animation down at the bottom. Swim. And we can see that it's using 3 different frames. 5-1, 2-3, and 1-1. 5-1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So it's using this frame. 2-3 was 2, 3. And then I think it was 1-1, right? Yeah. So it does this sprite, then this sprite, then this sprite. This sprite, this sprite, this sprite. And it's using these 3 to construct the swimming animation. I didn't intentionally design these sprites to work for a swimming animation, but when you use these 3 together and it gets chopped off at the bottom, it looks like he's swimming. I think it looks pretty good. But again, like the reason why I want to do this is because when I spawn, let's say we spawn a box. Spawn? Okay. The box before in the Steam demo, if you go on the Steam demo and you try to push a box into the water, I assume that it just like deletes itself immediately. You're doing an awesome job on your stream. It's really great to see as a fellow streamer. Oh shoot, these are bots. Do I always use a grid system for sprites? Do you manually choose the frames when making animations? Yeah, for my animations, I do normally set up all of my animations in terms of a big sprite sheet like this. And then, and in fact, this needs to be parsed up a little bit more because there's some of these sprites that I don't use. I don't use these 2 anymore. There's some empty frames here. I want to change up some of these. Like, I hate these 2 frames here. I like these 2. But this one really looks bad, and this one looks bad too. But if I look at the animations for the player, you can see that I'm mixing and matching the frames all over the place. There are some animations like walk, where it's just using frames 1 through 6 on row 2. So if we look at frames 1 through 6 on row 2, that's this. So this entire row represents the walking animation. But most animations aren't like that. Most animations, it's like chopped up between different frames from different parts. Look at backflip. Backflip is so many different frames here. So the mix and match process is pretty nice, just because it yeah, it just gives me a lot of flexibility. And then in the future, when like we make other characters or other objects that will work for this, they can follow a similar format where you can replace all these sprites with like a different character, but in similar poses, and it'll still work out. First I'm making a game and I've been using separate sprite sheets for each action. I think that that's fine. Like, so in the end, I think doing that is okay too. I think it's easier to manage the assets that way. In fact, I have a tutorial on my computer. I'm gonna see if I have an example of this where I did the same thing. Give me 1 second. I don't think I'll be able to find it. What I was just going to point out is that what you're describing is perfectly fine. If you wanted to have a separate image where you took this and like one sprite sheet was this, and then you just swap it out, that's okay. As far as I know, it doesn't really add too much more space to your project to have this split up between different files. But it's just a different way of managing your code. How do you add them holding items and stuff? Yeah, that is a very tricky part. Because the way it works is that the player is actually split up into multiple layers. So this is what the player looks like when it's layered up. And we can see all the different layers down here. And I can turn them off, like the eye layer or the head layer. So the way that picking stuff up works is you have an arm layer. And when you pick something up, it replaces the arm with the arm hold. Okay? So this is what it looks like while it's holding something. It's like the arm is sticking out. And then this is what it looks like when you're not holding something. The arm is just like to your side. So it does that. It does the arm hold. But then this is also why the layers are important, because if we look at the final version, the axe kind of goes behind the player's head to reach the arm. And that's why the layers are set up that way, because when the axe gets drawn, the eyes and the head aren't there yet. Then we just like draw the axe. What the heck? So the axe would get drawn in like this. And then the head and the eyes get drawn over top of that, and then that's how the weapon gets rendered into the game. It's just from layering it like a weapon sandwich. How do you not burn out? I don't know. I just do it all. I do the same thing every single day, and I just like it. It's been a while since I saw your videos. I got this stream as a suggestion. I remember being a subscriber to you before you reached 100K. Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, I don't post videos as often as I do, or as I used to, just because it just takes so much time to make those. I am actively working on my next devlog. It's going to be about the level editor, but I keep deviating from my plans for it. I can't watch the Monday streams because I have trumpet lessons. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, I know. It was hard for me to find a time that works well for everyone. Because this stream actually gets a lot of people from around the world. Like, I live in the US, but a lot of people don't live in North America. And if I did my stream at like 6 p.m. my time, that's like in the middle of the night for Europe. And that's early morning for Asia. So that's not that great of a time either. There's problems there too. So I think that Monday morning is okay. I guess a Saturday stream would probably be okay too, because then people would actually be available from work. Monday is nice though, because if there's a lot of Mondays that you get off from school or work in the US at least, so I imagine that there will be some streams that will be more popular than others because of that. Is the game technically going to be a platformer because of jumping like the Mean of the Hollower? Yes, I think that at this point the game has a very big like emphasis on the jumping stuff, because I just find that aspect of it to be so much fun that I do think that a lot of the levels and stuff are going to be designed around being able to jump. When I pull up the old version of the game, it always is hard for me to get used to it because I like how the old version of the game looks. When I go over here, I think that this version of the game looks really nice. And really, my new version isn't that far off from looking like this. I just need to get the tiles in place. But when I play this version of the game, you are glued to the floor, and it is hard for me to get used to that. I like wave dashing, though. The jumping code is amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. Sorry, one second. Greetings from Colombia. Wow, I actually didn't realize that's where you were from. So you would draw each frame with a weapon. Sorry, when I say the word draw, I should be more clear, because that is a weird word. When I say the word draw, that means a lot of different things. Because on stream, I'm drawing sprites, you know, when I draw a smiley face. This is me drawing a sprite. But that's not what I mean when I say draw. When I say draw, I'm talking about the programmatic draw. I'm saying that when I say the weapon gets drawn, I'm not saying that I create a version of the sprite sheet that contains the weapon. I'm saying that this is all that the player looks like. There is no version of this sprite sheet that contains the axe. What I am saying is that when the player gets rendered in the game starts by rendering the feet. So every other layer is not there. Everything else is turned off. The game starts by drawing the feet, then it draws the belly, then it draws the arm, then it draws the body, then it draws the weapon. Again, the weapon is not part of the sprite sheet. The weapon is a separate sprite entirely. But the game engine takes that sprite, draws it here, and then it draws the head, then it draws the eyes. So it's all programmatic. It doesn't require any additional sprite sheets per weapon. And that's the whole goal behind this setup. Whoops. Should I learn Lua or should I stay with Python? You should use whatever you like. They both can make games, and they both can do lots of really interesting, cool things. In fact, they're really similar languages. The way that I decide how or which languages to use, it always comes down to what projects you want to work on. Because if you want to work on games, then I would say just look for a game framework that you like and then use whatever programming languages you use for that. If you're choosing to stick with Python because that's just what you know, that's fine too. What I'm getting at is that it really doesn't matter. For small game dev, I think Lua is better, isn't it? They're all fine. Python is fine. Python is like Lua and Python are both very similar languages. They both use like an interpreter to get things working. I guess I don't really know. It just depends on what the game engines for Python, how they work. So like Pygame, how does Pygame specifically compare to Lua or to Love2D? That's the thing, is that when you're deciding what to use, I don't think that you should compare the languages. I don't think you should say which is better, Python or Lua. I think you should say to yourself, my goal is to create a game. What frameworks are best for that? And then you look at your options for frameworks, and then you say, okay, of those frameworks, the most interesting one is Monogame. Monogame uses C#, so you should use C#. Or if you went through that process and you said, I like Love2D, then it's Lua. Or maybe it's Godot and it's GD script, or it's GameMaker and it's GML or the drag and drop coding. Unity is C#, Unreal is C++. They probably have other plugins for other stuff too. Yeah, there's going to be updates. It's just been a while. You can use Pygame for Python. It's not too bad. I'm sure that it's perfectly fine. I just don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about its support to know how it compares to like Love2D. I do know that Love2D is really good with its support. I love it. Is Lua your favorite programming language? I think at this point, yeah, I'd say so. I know it the best and I'm the most comfortable with it. Opinion on code structuring for beginners. I tried out Love2D and the code becomes a mess fast due to my lack of experience. Do you use OOP? In Lua, using some library. I do not use OOP using some library. I just organize my code naturally. But the problem that you brought up about code structuring for beginners, the only way to get better at code structuring is to do it a lot. And I'm so happy that you're already experiencing that, because that's a common thing. I run into this all the time. Is I had this old project here, MOONSHIRE Prefactor, and I would reorganize the code so often because I was never quite satisfied. My brain would change directions on how I wanted to do it. So like, take a look at this. I have my enemies old folder. I have all of these files here of enemy code that I decided to kind of give up on because I wasn't satisfied with the code structure that I chose for this. I redid it completely. And this new one is better. But I still wasn't happy with that. And I redid it again. Actually, I think I redid it again for here. I think I redid it down here for mob. I did it. I redid it again for mob, and then I redid it one more time again in this implementation here, in code, under mob, so I have this other implementation of mobs. So your concern about code structuring, I don't have suggestions. My only suggestion for you is that if you make a lot of projects, you will learn what works and what doesn't. You'll figure out what aspects of a project are annoying to work with and when it's more convenient and what you like and what you don't like. Because also, by the way, there's no objective correct way to organize a project. There's just personal preferences, and some preferences are more universally adopted than others. So that's all it comes down to. It just comes down from experience and preferences. I can't teach you any tricks. I can't really tell you. I can tell you some things, but the only way that you'll learn the strategies is to do it yourself, and that's part of the process. Here, I'm gonna pull up another project. I'm gonna pull up. It's called Nodes. I wonder if I have it up. Oh no, it's called Tropical Spirits. It's the Tropical Spirit game. Here it is. Okay, so this game here, Tropical Spirit. This is my first big Love 2D game. I've made other Love 2D games, but this is the first one that like became a full end-to-end experience. And by the way, this game is playable on Chalacade.com if you want to try it out. So this game is functional, and it works. I made this game to figure out how Love 2D works, and to also figure out how mobile works, because this is a mobile game. And when I go back to this project, it makes me sick. It makes me sick because I open up this draw file, and I have this draw.lua, and it's so long. Well, it's not that it's long. I have lots of files in my projects that are 800 lines long. That's not that big of a deal. The problem is how I handled this. Like, look at this. What world is 4? So if we're on world 4 on level 1, then it just has all this hard-coded like stuff. It's all of these if statements for every world level combination, and it just like runs the exact same functions all over the place. This whole section could be this. Oh, it's so much worse. You could replace all of this code here with a nested else, or like a nested for loop. 2 for loops within each other. For the number of worlds, 1 to 6. And then you just do it. It's embarrassing that I did it like this. I organized my code in such a poor way. And also, I stuck all of this inside of the draw.lua file. That is, love the .old pattern for the refactor. Yeah, I do that a lot, I'd say. Because it's common to want to go back to the old code and reference it, but knowing that you won't really want to use it. And it would have been better for me to structure this code differently in lots of ways, both in terms of the implementation, but also, like, I could move this into a different file. This file that I'm looking at here is 800 lines long, but how much of it is dedicated to world select? I guess not that much. What was the one that I was looking at a second ago? It was draw time of world. It's several hundred lines long, just for this one section. What a joke. I'm certain I could like reduce this down to maybe 20 lines. It really is just so embarrassing how bad this is. But do you know how I learned not to do this? Is I did it. And then I realized, oh, this is actually bad. See, I can tell you not to do this, but you don't know what you don't know until you do it, and then you realize what works and what doesn't. You don't know when to apply these tricks until you try it. And that's kind of the hard part of it. C64 Basic is like abstract art sometimes. I love it. My code is a lot like that. I think that's fine when you're starting out because like this game works, and I was able to publish it on Google Play, so clearly it's fine. It's code that works is better than code that doesn't work, but what's better yet is code that's clean and works. It's best to strive for that if you can, but you know, if you spend too much time coding and not enough time developing, like if you're not making progress, then what's the point of all of this? A wise man once said, it just works. That is so true. Is it really that bad to write spaghetti code if you're never going to revisit it again anyway, though? No, it's not that bad. It's better to have something. And also, here's a way of looking at it. You could say, I'm going to do it hacky to start, and then I'll clean it up afterwards. I think that's fine. You know, when you interview for software development jobs, the way that they interview you is they'll ask you a really challenging coding question, and then you have to implement a solution on the whiteboard using your, like, using just a marker. It's hard. It's very hard. So a strategy, a very common strategy, is they ask you the question, and your first task is to get any working solution so that you can at least say that you solved the problem. It doesn't matter if your solution is good looking, if it's optimized, if the performance is bad, if it like relies on external libraries, or if you're taking some weird tricks to get there. As long as you have some logical flow that makes sense, that gets you some points. Because I still got my job at Microsoft even though I was not able to solve. There was a problem I was not able to do a good an interview solution for. But I still got the job because I was able to impress them in other ways. And what I'm getting at is, if you go into the interview dead set on providing only the best solution on the whiteboard, it's possible that you'll get hung up on it. And it'll be so difficult that you won't be able to get any solution at all. And if you compare that to a different interviewer, an interviewee, I guess, who just goes straight for the hacky response, the brute force solution is what you would call it. It's a version of the code, kind of like this, where it works, it's just really bad and really ugly. And actually, that strategy is nice for interviews because it gives you like a talking point. You implement your code in a bad way, and then you can explain out loud why it's bad and what steps you're going to take to improve it. And I think that, especially when you're starting out, it's great to do that because then you can pick up. You don't know the improvements until you try it out. You had a Microsoft job? Yes, I did. I like using the strategy pattern for things like these if-else blocks. Strategy pattern. I think in this case, it's like I have this block of code here. Basically, you can tell you're doing something wrong when you have this block of code here, and it's copy-pasted. It is quite literally copy-pasted to these other sections. And the copy-pasteness is the signal that you need to change something. I could reduce all of this into a function, and then every time I used this block, I could just call a function. And that alone would clean this up a lot. Then on top of it, all of these else-if lines are reductive. You can accomplish the same like iterative else-if check by using a for loop. It just increments the number that you're checking. For example, Balatro source code had something similar about long if-else-if statement, and some people said it looked unprofessional, but despite that, the game is still pretty good. Exactly. I think that we can all agree that Balatro is a fun game, and if the code was clean, that wouldn't really make the game more fun. Corix, hi, welcome in. Thank you for stopping by. If the code was clean, players wouldn't really notice that, and the game wouldn't be more fun. But if the code is clean, then the developers of Balatro would have an easier time developing more features, more code, more content. Because when you have bad code like this, the whole project becomes a pain in the butt to work with. So Balatro is in great shape, but if the code is ugly and crappy and reductive and copy-pasted, then if they were to make more levels or more content or more modes or whatever, it might end up being really complicated. Because like you said, there was a long if-else statement, and those if-else statements probably can be optimized by using a for loop. And what's nice about the for loop is that it programmatically figures out what it needs to check for. Like, part of what makes this setup bad is that not only are you copy-pasting it, but you also have to specifically copy-paste it the exact number of times in the exact number of places. A for loop can kind of like say, for the total number of levels there are, for the total number of worlds there are, do this. And it's able to do that without you needing to hard code these values. This new engine looks amazing. Well, I mean, this one that I'm showing right now is very bad, but the new, like, this engine, I'm very, very happy with how this is coming along. It really is nice. I'm excited about it. Though I work on MOONSHIRE full time. I'm starting university next month, and I have 4 years to do something on the side. Yeah, 4 years to do something. Oh, on the side. Yeah, while you're in college. Yeah, I totally recommend making games while you're in college. While I was in college here, I'll give my advice to anyone who is in college right now. So, this is ambitious, but my advice for anyone is, while you're in college, work on things that you can put online. Some kind of online portfolio. It can be a website. It can be a GitHub profile. It can be a Twitter account where you're posting artwork or videos or little snippets of things. I personally like having a website. I think it's great to have all of my stuff in one place, all of my links all in one place. But if it depends on what your goals are. For me, when I was in college, I wanted to be a software developer. I wanted to make web stuff. I wanted to make websites and work on like cloud and cutting edge tech. Mainly, I wanted to work on cutting edge tech, and all of that was web stuff at the time. With all the AI stuff now, how does the landscape change in your opinion? That's a good question, and I know that's going to make it more complicated, but I think it still comes down to, even if you have AI to help with coding stuff, you still need to understand how things are working on a fundamental level to do things properly. I was also going to show that over the weekend I rebuilt my bugs website, and I did use AI as part of this. And it was helpful. What is going on with all these? Did like a whole bunch of spam messages come up? Sorry, 1 second. Something's going on with the Twitch showing a bunch of spam. That was weird. I'm sorry about that. Sorry. So what I was going to say is that to accomplish some of the stuff here, I did use some AI. I think that it is very useful for figuring out some of the complicated things, and also it was helpful for identifying some of the security vulnerabilities. So this is something that's happening very. Someone mentioned the landscape of software development in regards to AI. Here's a very major one: is security is changing significantly. Security 10 years ago is basically dead, because today we have these AIs that exist, and the AIs are so smart that they can find vulnerabilities if they exist. Let me find, I don't know if I want to come here. I'll pull up an example. GitHub chat. Okay, so Chat is the software that I'm using to run my stream chat above my head right now. It's open source code, and it has public releases. It's on Steam. So you can play this game, this app on Steam, and all of the code is publicly available. Now, this website that I'm using, GitHub, is very common, and open source code is very common. Now, here is the big concern. Lots and lots of software out there is open source. Things like Android is open source. Things like, here, let's look up examples of what are some of the most noteworthy pieces of open source software. Okay, and we're gonna give some examples because there's more than you might realize. Linux is a great example. Git itself is open source. You need open source stuff. VS Code, the coding thing that I'm using right now, all of this is open source. Open source is how the world runs. It is very, very important. VLC, OBS, I am running this stream through OBS. I use GIMP and Inkscape for all of my artwork. Firefox, LibreOffice, there is so much more. FFmpeg is another good mention. Totally agree. I use that for combining clips together. Super, super useful. What I'm getting at is open source software is everywhere. You can look at the code for Blender, you can look at the code for VS Code, you can look at the code for Git, and it's all just right there online. You are open source, I am open source, basically. So my app here is a smaller example. You know, Git and Linux, those are huge open source examples. My app, ChildChat, is small. But here's what I'm getting at. This code is open source, so there is nothing stopping you from cloning this repo, just taking all this code. You can just straight up download this. You can download the zip, take all this code, plug it into an AI, a really powerful one, and you can tell it, look for security vulnerabilities in this repo. Any way that someone could access information that they shouldn't. Maybe you can spoof tokens. The authorization is weak. Find some flaw in the programming that can be exploited. And we live in a world where these AIs are smarter at finding that stuff than humans are. And not only are they smarter at finding it, they can do it instantly. So, all of these repos on GitHub suddenly are underneath a microscope from all of these malicious AIs that are trying to find vulnerabilities. Before, if vulnerabilities existed, a very intelligent, trained, experienced human would need to go through this code and look for very specific vulnerabilities that only experts would know about. Only experts would have any idea how to find security vulnerabilities. But now that barrier to entry has gone down to 0 because it takes no skill to plug in this code into an AI and to have the AI expert do that analysis for you. So, and I'm underselling how bad of a problem this is. Before, when Linux would have security vulnerabilities, think about that, security vulnerabilities on Linux, that is a major problem. But in the past, when those vulnerabilities were discovered, the Linux team was able to keep it a secret, and they could work on a patch in secret, and then they could post the patch right away, and then as soon as the patch was posted, the software would start rolling out, and everything would be good. But the problems that's happening is that, one, the vulnerabilities are being discovered by AIs, and so the hacks are taking place by AIs, and two, when I say that they post patches to fix the software, that's actually the problem. Is, let's say that my code here had a security flaw. My code here has a security flaw, and I know about it, and then I post a fix for it, okay? So I post a pull request that says, and actually, if I posted a fix for a security vulnerability, I wouldn't even explain in the pull request that it was to fix a security bug. I would just say, fixing some issue. the point that I'm getting at is these AIs are able to go through every pull request and identify what it's fixing. So now the AI doesn't need to search for vulnerabilities in the code itself. What it can do is the AI can look at all the pull requests. It can look at all of the patches that the developers are making. And when a developer makes a patch to this code, it takes a little bit of time before that patch rolls out to everybody. So the weakness in the current format is if I posted a patch to ChalaChat that fixes a security vulnerability and I post it online, even if I don't say this is a security patch, I could just say fixing some issue. There are AIs that can check every single patch that gets made to every single repo on the planet, and it checks to see, is this a security patch? And it can say yes or no. If it's a security patch, it can check to see what's the deployment timeline for the security patch. And maybe that security patch isn't going to be fully rolled out for another week. That gives this AI a full week of time to write a hack that takes advantage of the vulnerability that the patched code, like the code's going to be fixed. There's a patch for it, but the patch isn't going to be rolled out for a whole week. So that gives the AI a whole week of time to go wild, because now this bug, it was a secret. The security vulnerability was a secret. Only the developers knew about it. But the moment they post that patch, suddenly the AI is able to decipher. It's like able to reverse engineer what the problem is. Game over, exactly. Look what happened to GitHub recently. I heard about that too, yeah. So GitHub itself is kind of getting bloated because there is so much software getting pushed to the site that uptime is kind of becoming a problem on GitHub. And I don't know if that's necessarily related to hacks and stuff, but that it is kind of related how AI is changing the landscape. The barrier to entry is so low that so much software is entering the space, and all of it is being monitored for vulnerabilities by these malicious AIs. And even if there are fixes put in place, the AIs catch those attempts to fix anything and take advantage of it. So that was my rant about how AI has changed the software development space. It's crazy. What are we talking about? We're talking about security and safety in terms of how AI is impacting like the internet and software space. It's all very complicated and annoying, but the whole point is that you need to be aware of these gaps or what people are doing out there. People are running AIs 24/7, and all that these AIs are doing, they're just looking for victims. They're looking for any possible case where you can take advantage of someone. It can be like you're hearing about what's the term? Ransomware, where it's able to get a hold of some personal information or some picture or some details about you. It can be like your personal ID, your social security number, and it holds that information against you for money. And there's like ecosystems in place that facilitate it, where if you get hacked for like your social and they're like, well, I'm gonna leak this onto the dark web if you don't pay me $2,000, like it's all like a crazy mess. Shalky is scaring you. I hate to say it, but that is the point. That is the point. I need to scare you so that you protect yourself. And when I made my video a few years ago about when I got hacked on Discord. I got hacked on Discord a few years ago, and it was a really, really bad hack where I lost the entire Discord server. Where is it? Here it is. Whoop. Okay, here I am. Look at me. So in this video, I talk about how my site got hacked by someone on Discord. And when I made this video, a lot of the comments down below were saying, like, this video is just fear-mongering. This is a fear-mongering video. And the truth is, it is a fear-mongering video. this video is meant to scare people. And that is cringy to like post scary content online, but the truth is that you need to be scared to know not to trust anything. The point of this video is that I got tricked, and it was really easy for me to get tricked. I like, you don't realize all of the tricks that hackers use, and when you hear about these scary stories, that really does help out a lot. Sometimes things are worth fearing. That's a good way of putting it. Childcade watching Childcade. I do that a lot, I'd say. It was some Unity program that hacked me. It was my friend. I was messaging them through Discord, and they sent me a game to try out. And it turned out that the person I was talking to, like, it was my friend's account, but their account got hacked. I was talking to a hacker the whole time, so I just got tricked. So the fear mongering that this video sets out to do is to make you feel like you never know who you're talking to. You pretty much should live in fear that everyone that you're talking to isn't who they say they are. You should basically assume that the person that you're talking to is a hacker. And living in fear like that is, calling it living in fear is silly. It's not living in fear, it's living in caution. And I think that is necessary because the world is out to get you. I hate to say it. Your schizo is flaring up. I feel that. Yeah, this is not Childcade, don't get tricked. No, the one on the right is not Childcade. See, the eyes are Angie. So the one with Angie eyes is not me, and the one with happy eyes, that's the actual me. That's how you know. Paranoid people are the safest. You can't take it too far though, because in a way you're right. You are so right. The more cautious you are, the less likely you are to run into issues. But it's have you guys seen Inside Out 2? Because I didn't care for Inside Out 1 that much. I thought it was fine, but I liked Inside Out 2 a little bit more, just because I thought that the theme of the anxiety character I thought was really good. How Inside Out 2 is about how the character is anxious and how she's being overly cautious. She's so anxious that she is like acting weird and like overly protective, overly cautious, and it's like ruining her life basically. And I thought that movie did a really good job of kind of explaining that balance, how it's good to be cautious and not take too many risks, not put yourself into a dangerous position. But if you take it too far, then it can be really, it can be bad for you. Inside Out 2 was good? Yeah, I think so too. When I was a kid, I had a lot of nightmares that my PC got hacked. Yeah, and I bet when you were a kid, it was even more easy to get hacked back then. With the hundreds of bots we've been getting for a few months now, clearly people aren't careful enough, and hackers can keep taking advantage of it. Exactly. Yeah, so like just in this stream alone, I had several bots on Twitch. I don't get bots on YouTube as much, at least I don't notice them. But on Twitch, I get them constantly. And they would not be using those bots if they didn't work. Like if those bots were ineffective, people didn't click on them, then they wouldn't be running the bots. Like Wolf's saying, so that definitely works. So someone is clicking on them in some way or another. Is Windows Defender good? In my experience, yes. I don't know for sure, and I can't like speak on it from a liability standpoint. And also, I don't work for Microsoft anymore, so I can't really speak on that professionally. But in my experience, ever since Microsoft Defender or Windows Defender became normalized, I personally have not had much problems with viruses. You can still have problems with malware. Like this video is about how I ran an exe that was not safe. If you run applications on your computer, there's no virus protection that will protect you. If you run applications on your computer, that's where the problems come from. And yeah, just ever since Defender came out, I've noticed that like I don't get viruses from downloading things or from from visiting websites. I only get problems when I run malicious apps. If I run a malicious app like this malware here, that's when you'll have problems. And Defender can't protect you from that. Defender will warn you not to run it. And that's the problem, is that I chose to run the program anyway because I thought it was my friend's game. Those Discord bots that send the Mr. Beast scam thing in servers. I actually haven't seen that one yet. I just keep getting the stream bot guy. It's so annoying. Any advice for getting out of tutorial hell for someone who has no coding experience? Yeah, I think that that's a very common place to be in, is just to stick with the tutorials. The nice part about tutorials is that it gets you acquainted with the process. I don't think that you're going to be able to learn too much from tutorials, but you will be able to pick up on like the little pieces and the processes. And like I say that, but like I have tutorials on my channel, and I think that my playlist for game development is really useful. And I think there's a lot of good information to glean from this Love to D Basics playlist. But if someone were to follow my playlist and follow along, and even if they coded everything along with me, I am certain that by the end of it, they still won't know how to make games. You still won't know. Because when you follow a tutorial and you just copy what someone else is doing, you don't really learn the details. What you do get is some familiarity with like, okay, I remember him doing it there, and I remember like I needed to edit this file. So you pick up on the small steps. You pick up on like what it feels like to interact with the program. But in terms of actually learning coding, I don't think that you're going to learn, like actually get better at coding from watching these videos or even coding along with them. How do you stop vibe coding and actually learn? Well, that's, I think you answered your own question, is you need to actually stop. And it's a challenging answer to give, because we're past the point. Like, AI coding is useful. We call it vibe coding for like that's the kind of like derogatory term basically, but vibe coding is actually useful. You can write good code with it. So we're past the point where it's all bad. The only question now is, how do you use it in a responsible way? Like Totally Not Brain Rot is saying, it is difficult to use it in a way where it's not, you're not becoming reliant on it. And I relate to that. I feel that. It is very hard. Especially, and I use this example all the time. When I was in college, there was no AI. I just had to learn how to code. And there was an assignment early on. I had to code a sorting algorithm. And it was in Java, and I had a lot of trouble with it. I had a lot of trouble coding the sorting algorithm. I spent like a week like banging my head against the wall trying to get it to work, and I just struggled so hard. And I did eventually figure it out. But the process of figuring it out is what I learned from, is that challenge. Overcoming the challenge is how you actually learn coding. And if I had AI at the time, I definitely would have looked up how to do it. I definitely would have just looked up, okay, my code is not working. Please tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I've been banging my head against the wall for a day and I can't figure it out. And then it would have told me, and I would have gone, oh, okay, well now I'll do it that way. But then I wouldn't have internalized it. It would have solved the problem for me. And also I say banging my head against the wall for a day. That's the other problem, is that AI doesn't allow you to bang your head against the wall for a day. We get so comfortable having AI to solve our problems immediately that you will put yourself in a position where you never solve problems at all. If you allow the AI to solve all your problems, you will never get better. You will never learn. You will only learn how to drive an AI, and you will not learn how the software works. You will not learn how the code works. You will not learn how to code. And you're going to get hung up on some issues that the AI like can't really fill in the gaps for. It's called problem solving after all. It is. Problem solving is a skill that comes from... problem solving is a skill that AI can't teach you. That's such a good way of phrasing it, is problem solving is necessary to make games, but AI can't teach you problem solving. You're a mobile app dev and for a really big company. And when you first started, I learned the ins and outs of Java and JavaScript. Now with these AI agents, it feels like I don't need to know as much, but it certainly helps knowing the frameworks. Yes, we really don't need to know as much anymore. And I think that's scary. Before, you really had to understand how to code to write code. Like the game that we're listening to right now was made by one guy in Japan, and he really understood game programming inside and out. And the game feels high quality for it. If AI existed at the time, maybe if AI existed at the time, he would have used it in a way to produce a game of the same quality. But I also think that because it was such a challenge, and because he had to rely on his own skills to accomplish the task, it led to Cave Story being better than if it was all vibe coded. So what I'm getting at is there's times where vibe coding can be useful and can save you lots of time because it's very smart these days. But also, I think it's bad for students. I think it's bad for people who are learning. I think it's bad for young people. I don't think young people have the self-control to know when it's useful and when it's not. It's hard for old people too. But I do think that like a 30-year-old person has more self-control than like a 15-year-old. No offense. And how do I get better at pixel art animations? It's the same thing. Is that I think that this sheet here kind of demonstrates what my pixel art journey is always like. Is that I always start with like different ideas. How this version of this character just doesn't look as good as some of these other characters, and it grows over time. It's just, if you look at my sprites from 10 years ago, they are way worse than the sprites I can make today. The last few times I was stuck, I googled a solution or reworked the AI suggestions into usable code. I should try to solve things more by myself if you're able to. I think that the next time you get stuck is try to use AI in a way that doesn't give you the answer, but that guides you towards finding it yourself. There's this style of teaching called Socratic, the Socratic method of teaching, where the teacher doesn't tell you anything. The teacher doesn't give you any answers to any question. If you ask the teacher, how does gravity work? The teacher won't explain. Oh, well, it's because the mass of the Earth is so extraordinary that blah blah blah. The teacher would never explain that to you. Instead, they would ask you, well, how does air work? Or how does conservation of mass work? Or they would ask you questions like, what did Einstein say about this particular problem? They don't give you answers. They ask you questions that inspire you to seek out the answers yourself. And when you seek out the answers yourself, you'll internalize a lot better. Because if Socrates just told you what the answer is, you might forget it. But if Socrates asks you a question that makes you think about it, and then that thought process eventually leads to you figuring it out, that's how you actually learn. One of the best thing in answer is practice and don't give up. It gave much more skill at programming pixel art. It is the same for all skills. Is that, like, if you do pixel art for a year, you'll be better than you were a year ago. But if you compare your pixel art to someone who's been doing it for 10 years, their pixel art's going to be even better, like quite a bit better. I've been doing pixel art my whole life, and I still get very intimidated by certain sprites, especially the pixel art done by Tris Pixels. I show his artwork all the time because I really like it, but Tris Pixels makes all the high fidelity artwork for my game. I'm going to see if I can find it. Sprites and... oh, Parallax, that's what it is. Yeah, like this stuff. I think there's... Yeah, this isn't even the best example. There's other stuff that he's done where I see the way that he shades this stuff is very intricate, and I don't even know how he does it. How does he do this? Like, when I zoom in on these pixels... Does this look like a tree to you? Like, this doesn't look like trees, but in the context of the image, it does. That's what's so impressive about pixel art, is that you're limited so substantially, but somehow this still looks like trees. Like, this doesn't look anything like trees at all, but somehow it does because it's just so clever. It's so cleverly made. How do you expand a game with more functionality, but you don't know how to make the feature? Let's say attack for an RPG, you don't know how to implement it. The way you do that is you simplify the idea as much as you possibly can. Here's my example. Imagine we were making a game where you play as this guy. And let's say we wanted to give him a sword. I'm going to tell you right now that implementing a sword slash animation and like getting the physics to work and all that stuff and the animation and having the hitboxes line up properly and having it work with the player's animation, it's very, very hard. So my advice would be take that idea, the sword, and simplify it into something different. Maybe he doesn't use a sword. Maybe he uses a bow and arrow. Okay, so he shoots arrows. And I can tell you from experience, spawning and shooting arrows that fly across the screen, that's way, way easier than making like an animated sprite of like a slash arc and then creating like a hitbox that lines up with it and then aligning that like animation with the player's animation. My advice is to take it even further. He doesn't shoot arrows. He shoots oranges. He throws oranges at people. That way you don't have to rotate the sprite. You just need to spawn an orange circle. All that the guy does is he throws oranges at people, okay? So then once you get the thrown oranges working, that's when you can say, okay, you know, throwing oranges, that doesn't really make sense. Why would he throw oranges? I'm gonna make it so that he throws spears. Now he's throwing spears instead. And this step requires you to figure out, how do I rotate this arrow? Because if you're facing to the right, the arrow is facing to the right. But if you're facing to the left, now it needs to face to the left or up and down. So this is an extra step. Now you have this arrow that needs to be rotated. So this is a harder step compared to when he was throwing apples and oranges. And an orange is just a circle. You don't have to rotate anything. You just send it. So this is an easier version of this, which all of that is an easier version of, how about like a Zelda 1 sword slash? So instead of a slashing sword, it's a stabbing sword. So he just launches his sword out straight. So it's like a Mina the Hollower sword. So it just spawns a sword right in front of him. So if you've ever played Zelda 1, make a sword like that. It uses the rotation of the arrows that I just showed, but it's a little bit more clever. It keeps this thing more motionless and close to the player. And once you get like the simple stab sword figured out, so simplify as much as you can. Exactly, that's exactly the point. Because all of these things build off of each other. Earlier in this like explanation, I drew that sword where it's like, okay, so you have the sword slash, and then it's gonna have like the slash animation. So this is the sword down here, and then like this is the slash effect. All of these, like this sword, it still needs to be rotated the same as the arrows do. It still needs to spawn a hitbox the same as the orange does. It still needs to do all the other things that the earlier versions of the sword needs to do. So when you build it up piece by piece, you can achieve that complexity that you're like trying to achieve, but it's like more palatable. You're not biting off too much more than you can chew. That makes sense. Simplifying mechanics is unironically goated strategy. Helps you get way more done. Totally agree. Totally agree. It is tricky. It's tricky to do because it's hard also to convince yourself that these compromises are okay. It goes back to that dream game idea. You know, you hear a lot about people talking about dream games on YouTube or even in these streams, because we all have game ideas and there's lots of ideas that we want to turn into games. But when we say dream game, that normally implies that the idea is really ambitious. It's an idea that like you've thought about for a long time and it's perfect. And when you have the perfect idea, it can be hard for you to say, I don't know if I want to switch him from a sword to arrows. Like I wrote my whole story around him being a swordsman. It's like I can't just give him a bow and arrow. That doesn't make sense. And this is what I'm saying, is that there's no perfect idea. You can't go into your game with like the story written perfectly. You can't go into your, like, if you went into it with the dead set thing, I have to have a sword slashing animation, there's no other alternative. Well, I guess your game's not getting made because you weren't willing to make compromises. But if you were willing to make compromises, say like, he throws rocks at first, he just throws circles. It's really easy. It's so much easier to do it that way. And if you go to Chalacade.com and you go into games and we go down to zombie shooter, wow, what is this game? It's a game where you shoot circles. It's a game where you shoot circles, and this was one of my first Love 2D games. This is how you learn how to do anything. Is like it's a super simple version of it. And so I had that version of the game, and then a year later I tried it again with this version, where it's a little bit more complex. You have like an animated walk cycle, and it's still shooting circles, but it's different. And by doing this over time, I incrementally increase the complexity. It's a little bit more complex each time I make a game like this. Like this game has like the camera, you know, and all of these skills build off of each other. That's from Moonshire's main menu. Oh, sorry, I missed your message. But yeah, that sprite I showed earlier, the Tris Pixel sprite, was from Moonshire main menu. This game is just like kiting skulls. I chose to do a very simple 4-phase day-night cycle. That sounds really hard. Complex shader solution, since it was considerably easier, didn't hurt the vibe. Nice. I'm glad to hear that you were able to make it work out. That does sound really complex, though. Fitz, hi, welcome in. Thank you for being here. So, anyway, that's my strategy for anyone out there, is if you have an idea for a mechanic, boil it down to the most simplest version. Butterfly, hi, welcome in. I'm just talking about some pixel art and some ideas and like how to ramp things up for game development. Because getting started is really hard. Because like the big question is, I keep saying the best way to learn is to challenge yourself and to overcome the challenge. But if you don't know how to do something, how can you overcome the challenge? It's like a non-starter. That Skull game was made with Monogame, right? Yes, it was. Yeah, that Skull game was made with Monogame, and getting it running in browser was pretty tough, but it does work nice, and the performance is awesome. I was saying before how I don't really enjoy the workflow of working with Monogame. I think it's more annoying to work with because it has more overhead, but the performance of it is better. It's able to like compile the sprites into bytecode, and everything runs better than Love 2D can. So I think that's good. You sent your game that you made for a game jam. You sent it to Discord and promo. Oh, it's in the web itch. Sure. If it's playable in web, that's great. Yeah, I'll be able to play it in the promo page. Sure. What sounds better for a game? A dash you instantly use or a dash you charge? Personally speaking, I do not like charge anythings. I don't like charging attacks, and I don't like charge dashes. I don't like charge attacks. I just like I like fast. So if you're asking for my opinion, I would say just go for an instant dash. Should I make a big long-term game in Turbo Warp or learn Godot? Because currently I only know Turbo Warp. I tried learning Godot, but gave up because, well, it's too many letters. I think that you should try to make a small game. I would not recommend making a big long-term game if you don't feel comfortable with making games. If you like using Turbo Warp and you know all about it and you feel comfortable with it, and you feel like a good big game would look good, then go for it. What I'm getting at is your first games will not be good. And when I hear you say long-term game, can I do it now? No, I'm not gonna do it on stream. When you say long-term project or big game, that scares me. I'm not gonna play it right now. I hear long-term game, and that scares me because if you're still new to game development, your first few games are not going to be good. They're going to be bad. And I don't want you to spend years of time working on a game and then it turns out to be bad. I would much rather prefer you spend, a few months working on a small scale game that like tests your limits. That's still hard to make. That's challenging. But I don't want you to spend years working on a large scale game. I've been working on my game for years, 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know how long it's been. I don't recommend that. I think that it's been good for me to learn, but if your goal is to make games, spending all your time on one game for years is not wise. This is what I recommend. I'll pull up my stuff again. My advice is to build up a catalog similar to mine. Start with something like this. If you have not made a game like this yet, or something that's like similarly simple, I always talk about Pong or Breakout, something like this. Make this. This is the level of difficulty your first few games need to be. And notice that even this game, it looks kind of ugly. Looks kind of ugly. That's because I was still new to game development. I don't want you to spend years of time working on a game for it to be ugly. Here's what I mean. This game, Destination 44, this game sucks. This game sucks. And I spent over a year making it. And it's so long and so crappy to play, but I spent all this time on it. The whole idea behind this game is that it's called Destination 44, and it's 44 floors of, like, challenges and stuff to do. But all 44 floors are boring. Every single floor is boring. And it's all jank, too. Like, I showed this floor earlier on stream. Another stream. Ah! Like, what happened? That was so stupid. This game's annoying. And I wish that I didn't make this game into a giant 44 floor spanning giant adventure. I wish instead I made it a small, compact, really good, dense adventure. I think that would have been much, much better. In fact, that's what I did. I took Destination 44 and remade it for Cavern. Cavern is the same game, it's just a little bit more optimized, and it takes all the bad aspects and strips them away. Cavern is much shorter, Destination 44 is much longer, and I think that Destination 44 is just so boring. You have a libgdx Pong game made in Java. Awesome! Oh, finally, I made it. I tried doing this on stream last time, and I wasn't. Oh, there's more! There's more! Ah, oh, come on, I don't want to die. Please, please, please. Oh, come on, please. Oh, this is the hardest part. Okay, I got it, I got it. Yes! Yes! Huge! I gained the lava siphon ability. While standing in lava, your fireballs become more powerful. Okay, I want to actually go use this because I like this ability a lot. You don't seem very bored? Okay, you got me there. I don't seem very bored. This game's pretty awesome. Okay, this is what I mean, is that this game has really high highs and really low lows. Like, I like the idea, I like the ideas in the game, but it's just so spread out. The good parts are separated by, like, really boring, drawn-out, bad rooms. Can I turn off the music? Yeah, I can. Can you show some of your complex code in Love2D? Sure, I can show some of it later. But I have a lot of it on GitHub. If you go on GitHub, there's some open source Love2D games that I have. So what we're doing is, this game is a Metroidvania. And what I did is I backtracked up to this area up. Is my mouse visible? It is, I think. I backtracked up to this area to get a new ability. And now I can take that ability down, back down, farther down here, and use that lava siphon ability to unlock a new room. Woo! Whoa! I like how the fire looks in this game. It's kind of weird and it's kind of over the top, but I still like it. Whoa! Yeah, this game has a lot of bugs too. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I can walk in the lava. So when I unlocked the fire ability, I was able to walk in the lava. But now when I stand in lava, I get like these giant fireballs that explode. Oh, that's so awesome. Does it go through walls? It might. No, I don't think it does. The character looks very floaty. It's a little floaty. I don't think it's that bad though. Here, I wanna hit this guy. There he goes. The fire looks so complex compared to everything else. I know, it's overdone. Makes it seem cooler in contrast. Yeah, I think it kind of works. But it is like, it's overly, there's too many particles, and I overdid it, but I still kind of like it. The physics are funny. The physics are pretty funny. Where's your GitHub page? It's just Chalacade on GitHub. Or you can go to chalacade.com, and then my GitHub link is there. Whoop. Oh, come on. I keep accidentally doing that move. There we go. Pretty new to pixel art. Do you have any tips that give me better... Sorry. I always slur my speech whenever I'm reading. Any tips? No, unfortunately I don't, because that is a common question I get, is people asking about, like, how can I make better pixel art? Oh, shoot. And the truth is that, like, I never really was taught anything. I just learned over time from doing it a lot. So I made games through Game Maker when I was a kid, and that has a sprite editor built into it. And I use that a lot. I made a lot of games doing that. I'm streaming on Twitch later this week. I think I will, because I was thinking about what game I would want to stream, and I think I'm going to stream Goodgiss's new game, because Goodgiss made... Whoa, that's weird. He made Dewdrop Dynasty, and it came out, or it's coming out tomorrow, I think. You learn a lot by doing it. Yeah, that's... I know it's not a very satisfying answer when I say, oh, you just have to practice all the time, but that is the truth. I keep pressing the wrong buttons. This music feels a little inappropriate for this zone. Did I make every level? Yeah, all of this stuff is handmade. In fact, I still have all the tiled maps for it. I'll pull them up after this. Goodgiss's game is releasing soon. Yep, I think it's releasing tomorrow even. Let me pull it up. Dewdrop. Here it is. July 21st. That is tomorrow, indeed. Where is it? It had like a countdown. In 21 hours. Woo! That's exciting. That is exciting. For anyone out there, Goodgiss is another YouTuber, and he has a game coming out. It's coming out tomorrow. And I'll probably play it on Twitch. Definitely gonna support the game. Awesome. I don't know how, am I gonna play it on stream? Yes, I am. I'm gonna play it on Twitch. And I don't want to make any promises, but I did message him to see if we wanted to do a collab stream where we could play the game together. If we did that, it would be on YouTube. Oh my gosh, I'm getting owned. I shouldn't even be up here. I should be down here so I can use the big ones. I love the lava siphon. This is fun. Oh, I'm almost dead. Don't die. Called Isidore's Edge. I feel like I have. Someone was talking about that in chat recently. Where's the save point? I don't want to die. I took a lot of damage that route. Why is there nothing in this room? See, look, this room has nothing in it. Why did I bother? This is just a big empty room and there's literally nothing in this room. What is the point? That was such a waste of time. I'm mad. I'm mad that I did that. I'm gonna go save and then I'm gonna go backtrack up this way. I feel like a lot of changes that made things lose sense over time. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, this room I can actually go up because I have this ability. I have this ability where you can like get on fire and then blast up like that. Woohoo! That was really awkward. That was me going up. That was me going up several floors. That's actually kind of cool. It was like a shortcut on this right side. Oh, health increase. So where does it go out to? Oh, shoot. I didn't even need to do all that backtracking. I could have taken the shortcut. Whoa. Dude, that's so funny. That's actually a clever thing. I was talking not that long ago about how mad I was that I had to backtrack this entire route, but it turns out there's a shortcut that goes all the way up here. It's just a straight shot. Cause look, I'm back up here where I started. We're here in the blue zone. Let's go back down. been flying for 30 minutes. Oh, that's fun. Okay, that's actually pretty fun. Like you fall down 5 floors. I like that idea. There's some good ideas. Okay. Pascal was thinking ahead. You know, I said that this game sucks, but maybe you're right. Maybe it isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be. Okay, I'm gonna go down. When I was 6, I made some games from scratch. When I got like, oh my god. Sorry, I just like encountered something terrifying. Ow. No, I guess it's not a boss. He's just like a scary man. Performance is not good right now. Oh, I didn't even see him. I see another one up there. Oh, whoop, I fell. Right, so you can't go down here normally because like you can't go in the lava. Oh, no, you can go in the lava. Falling reminds me of Veni Vidi Vici. Oh, I remember VVV. I remember that. I played that game. I have that on Steam. I love that one. Die, die, die! It's so much better with the lava siphon. I'm glad I've seen you finally play this on stream after hearing you slay so often. Yeah, I know. I keep talking about it. What? Oh, I already went in here. I already went in this room. There was a pickup here. How long did it take you to make this game? I think I made this game in 1 year. And I never released it. Like, it's on my website, but I just put it up a couple months ago. This was a completely unreleased game up until a few months ago. But now it's fully playable, and it's like, there's good parts to it. But I always talk trash about it because it demonstrates all the things that I dislike about a lot of games. How it takes an idea and stretches it too thin. This is a game that is like 3 hours long when it really should have been 1 hour. I can't remember which way I need to go. I'll probably go this way first. So I have an ability that like hits them instantly like that. Whoa! No! I guess you can just like shoot this off in the distance and it hits things off screen. I'm kind of cheesing this room a little bit. Oh yeah, the game that I was talking about, Dewdrop is not by me. This is by Goodgis. This is by another YouTuber. But I can see with the confusion because it is really similar. Like we have a similar art style, I think. I love his art style. Yeah, I'm excited to play this. I think it's gonna be fun. It'd be really awesome if I could get him on stream. I dare you release Moonshire now. I don't think it's quite ready, unfortunately. I'm too busy playing this game. It's hard to see, but I see the lava splash when you jump on lava. Yes, there's little particles. Just so much of this game is doing this. It's just like walking through empty hallways where maybe at one point there were enemies, but it's just so boring. You can't load into the game you're playing? You can load. As long as you have a file, but make sure you save it. Oh, okay. Will Moonshire be Steam Deck compatible? Yes. And in fact, it is... Oh, look at that. There's a secret up there. I forgot about this. It already is Steam Deck compatible. Is this Destination 44? Yes, it is. I'm happy that you recognize it. Oh, that's buggy. That is so buggy. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's a good puzzle. That's a good puzzle. Whoa. Oh, this is a good room. Yes! Man, when there are good ideas, they are actually pretty good. I think the lava siphon is an amazing ability. How far can you jump? Not very far. Unless you're asking me about real life, in which case it's even less far. Yeah, the way that this game saves is it saves the progress files to your browser cache. So as long as you're using the same browser and you're not clearing your cookies or anything, then it should be able to save. Let's see. I think there's another one here. Oh. You have a 5060 and 32 RAM on PC. Nice. I just got my 5070 Ti a few months ago, and I love it. What are we playing? This is Destination 44. This is a game that I dropped the lava. That's so cool. This is a game I made when I was in college. So that's actually awesome. I wish I showed that. So what happened is that this lava wasn't here a second ago, and then I just like went upstairs and dropped this pool of lava down here so that now I can come here and then like blow this stuff up. That's awesome. That's actually a good idea. I want to get that heart. You actually made that game that used to be advertised on mobile all the time? I guess I don't really know that one. The only time I clear cookies is when I'm channeling Cookie Monster. That makes sense. I love that. How long did it take you to make the game Moonshire? It took like 4 or 5 years to make the Steam demo, but I'm still working on it. Like, it's still deep in development. What genre is Moonshire? It's like a action adventure or like a, I don't know, exploration fantasy game. All right, next zone. Oh, this is the grass zone. All right, we're in Greenland. Whoop. Okay, I like that. Oh god, that's way harder. Okay, this is when the enemies actually start getting hard. Greenland, Greenland. Maybe the reference to the real country even. Janetta Carr, rating with a party of 99. That's amazing. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you. That's so kind of you. I'm just up front. I've never had anywhere close to that many viewers on Twitch. Thank you so much. Did it show the raid message in Channel Chat? I think I need to add that. Thank you so much for being here. So this game that I'm playing now, by the way, for anyone who's just showing up, is it's a game I made when I was in college. And if you want, if anyone's interested, it's online. So if you go to chalacade.com/games, I have a bunch of games on here, and the game I'm playing is this one called Destination 44. So I made it back when I was in college, and I'm just showing it off because it has some pros and cons. Not all of it's good, but there's some good aspects of it. I always talk trash about it because it's kind of annoying and kind of a pain in the butt. But thank you again for the raid, Janet. Oh, and I love the soundtrack that we're listening to. Anyone else out there play Mina the Hollower? Because I love that game. That's a really good one. Oh, I fell. Already follow me on YouTube? Awesome, thank you. That's so kind. I was gonna point out that this is something I need a new ability for because I can't get underneath of this like small gap. So there's like an ability I need to find. Yeah, we jamming this stream. Okay, I don't think I can do this room yet either, because there's like hooks on the ceiling. Because I do remember vaguely what happens, but not really that much, if I'm being honest. Because, oh no, I do have to go that way. I don't think there's any other way I can go. Yeah, I do have to go that way. This is gonna be so dangerous. Oh! Oh my gosh. Okay. Man, you know, I keep saying bad things about this game, but I'm kind of having fun. I'm not gonna lie. It is actually fun. I should save. Let's go left here. I don't know what's over here. Oh. Oh, God, that sucks. That's gonna be so hard to avoid. Why would I just... That is so hard. That's like primal aspid stuff. That is so hard. Looks kind of peak. I mean, in some ways it is. Okay, that's actually kind of awesome. The raid message didn't show. Yes, I think that what I need to do is I need to properly capture the raid message, because for anyone who doesn't know, the chat above my head is like custom code. If you go on Steam, there's an app on Steam called Chat, and that's what I'm showing all my like chat messages from. But I'm noticing that some details aren't always being captured. Like the raid message when Janet followed, or when she raided, I think that it didn't show up. So I think I just need to add an extra clause somewhere in the logic for where it checks for that stuff. Press C. Oh yeah, the hitboxes. Yeah. Turns out the game isn't as bad as I thought. I think that it is. It's just like, I don't know. We'll see. I think the beginning is worse than this part. This part's a little bit better. But what was that room? There's nothing in this room. It's just empty room. So weird. War flashbacks to Horror and Despair. Yeah, same. Yeah, it is funny how you can see like the physics when you turn it on. Oh god. I remember this. Ah! It's just like a bird. Okay. So can't get past the bird. It is a Burb reference. This is long before the Burb game, though. Got a new follower? Oh, totally. I'm following you after this. Thank you again for that raid. I really appreciate that. I don't want to do all this again. Please let me make it. Oh, come on. I gotta be careful. I don't want to fall down there. That would actually be bad. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, by the way. I call it Janet, or maybe is it Janetta? Or Janeticar. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. I'm getting better at reading, but like, when I started streaming, I actually had a really bad... It's Janet. Good. Janet's correct. Check your bio. Good. When I started streaming, like a couple years ago, I was so bad at speaking. Like all of my speech, I would just like stutter all the time. Whoops. And I just could not read. I'm a lot better today, but I still have room for growth. Are we at the boss yet? Because I want to unlock the new ability. Oh! Look at him! It's a little bird! Okay, now I remember this. This is actually adorable. This is my D0 of learning Godot game development. Awesome! I'm so happy to hear that. Good luck. Yeah, just take it easy. Follow tutorials at first. Start with some really simple projects. Just try to make things work. And, yeah, take your time with it. But it's fun. I love making games. I'm glad that you're getting started with it. Oh, no! Rick Carlson, old school geek himself, thank you for the donation for bird food. Yes, for bird food. Thank you so much for the donation. That's so kind of you. You should light up follow, sub, raid messages like you do jam messages. I should. I think that when, when someone donates, it does light it up. It does light it up. So when someone subscribes or gifts a sub, it does actually light it up. So it's a big pop out thing. Okay, I don't want to die. I got a baby bird on me. Oh, okay. Oh god. Okay. Ow. I need to be careful. I'm gonna use this because if I use the torpedo ability, it's actually not that bad. Oh, I'm out. I was trying to use my special. Oh, come on. Don't die. Please don't die. Oh. That was weird. Oh, it sent me all the way back here. Are you kidding me? This game is so bad. This game's so bad. Oh, why did it send me all the way back here? That's so bad. What's my native language? Oh, I speak English. It's just that in general, I speak really quickly, and you know, sometimes I mess up. That's all. Have you made an audit of your experience Sorry. Have you made an audit of your audience experience as beginner game devs? So I'm curious if it's accurate or not. I would say it's a mixture. I've never really done a specific audit, but I think in general, most people that watch like YouTube content about game development are still just getting started with it. But even if they're not, like I think that it's a nice mixture, which the advice still applies to everyone the same. Oh, I'm mad that I have to do this again. I'm kind of sick of this. I am so sick of this, I'm done. We're done playing this dumb game. I'm going to show you guys what Cavern looks like, because it's the same game, but it takes all the annoying aspects and makes it less annoying. Oh shoot, I have to turn the sound off. Ow. Beginner intermediate for me. You made a tool in Godot to create collision automatically in Godot for time sort of tile map if anyone needs DM. Nice, that sounds cool. Whoa. Oh, don't die. Please don't die. Always made in love. Yeah. Yeah, Destination 44 was made in Love 2D, and this one is made in Love 2D as well. Oh yeah, and like Wolf said, a lot of people aren't game devs at all, because I think my content in general can be appealing and interesting to non-game devs. I don't think you have to be a game dev to enjoy it. I think that as long as you play games, you can normally get an appreciation for what it's like to make games. Or some people just like behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, I'm not that big of a movie buff. I don't really like movies that much, but I do love watching behind the scenes of how movies are made or practical effects. I love practical effects. And it's just seeing the process is awesome. So I feel like a lot of people would get that from my videos as well. Oh! Literally the same enemy you were just seeing in Destination 44. Yes, it's the same, like, squishy idea, but I made it look a lot better for this one. I love how these enemies look. Like, I wouldn't change a thing about these slime guys. Oh yeah, and it literally is the nature one, like the green one that we were just seeing, like you were saying. That's awesome. And then we have the cracked wall. That was in Destination. The circle effect you get when you're killing the enemy. Yep, that was in Destination 44. That's called the blast. Even old school devs always need to relearn new tools over time. It's true. It's totally true. Yeah, you're never done learning. I'm still learning all the time. Even though I consider myself a pretty well experienced game developer, I'm still learning constantly. Like Moonshire has taught me lots of things over the past couple years even. I feel like a way better game developer than I was just a few years ago. What's going on? This is just a game I made when I was... I started this when I was in college, but then I finished it after I graduated. How did you make their eyes chase the player, or look at the player? It's because the eye is a separate layer. So the eye... I can show this with Moonshire, actually, because it works the same in Moonshire. If I pull open the sprite sheets, and I go over to sprites, and I go over to mobs... actually, I'll go over to a different project. Okay, sorry about that. So the way that these sprites look at the player is there is a... more viewers on Twitch. It's because Janet was super kind and gave me a raid. It was so nice. The way that looking at the player works is that these enemies are split up into, like, different smaller pieces. So when I want to have the enemy look at the player, it literally does this, where the iris is here, And if the player's on the right side, then the iris will be on the right side. And if the player's on the left side, the iris will be over here. And actually, I still have all of the code for Cavern. I can just show that too. For enemies and... So the way that the flyer worked... I tried to do both of them. It's the same idea. Then we have the flyer wing too. So actually it draws the wings first, then it draws the ball. Like this. And then the eyeball goes over top of that even. And it just rotates. Whoops. Just rotates and faces the player. So that's how all that works. But code-wise, this game, Cavern, is open source. So if you want to see like in detail exactly how the code works for it, you can take a look on GitHub. There's the heart container that was in Destination. Even like the floors and the walls has the same like rough texture. Got the rocket launcher. Nice. Okay. I love that. You can use this to like speed run because it boosts you back. Decades ago, the Unix graphic window environment had a program called Eyes, and pupils followed the cursor. Oh, that's cool. I love that. What do you think about this whole AI thing and how it's progressing right now? We talked about that a little bit earlier in the stream, and my take is always that it is useful. There's been questions in the past like, is it useful or not? But it's gotten better to the point where it is useful for development. It's just hit and miss in terms of like how. I think the big thing is just how much it impacts newer developers, or it lowers the barrier to entry so much, and I worry that it could cause problems down the line. I think that when AI like solves all your problems, it can make it harder to learn, basically, is what it comes down to. I have a game of an astronaut that flies, but he has fuel, so he can't fly forever. I gotcha, nice. I thought about doing that too, but I decided just to do unlimited. Yeah, now we're jamming. Domain knowledge is still key. Yes, that's exactly right. That's a good way of putting it. Is that AI can like write code for you, but it can't help you. Or like, I guess it can teach you some things, but you need to overcome challenges to really internalize all this stuff and to get good. Yeah, double kill. I think you can do another one here. Oh no, I didn't do it. Oh. Ow. AI to research, but not to generate. But the problem I have with AI is that it has hallucinations a lot. I had that problem in the past, and there's been times in the past where I have had it, like, it told me something that was just blatantly wrong, and it was confidently incorrect. I'm with you. I'd say that that is one of the biggest pain points, is that, oh yeah, you can't shoot that through the water, is that it's confidently incorrect. Songs from Earthbound, yes it is. My specific example is that, like, I was working on Chat and I used Node.js for it, and there was a specific feature that I needed to check to see, does the game, or does Node.js actually support this thing that I need to do? And I'm like, does Node.js version 18 or whatever it was support XYZ? And do I take damage if you shoot against a wall? No, actually there's no friendly fire for yourself. I probably should have done that. And anyway, it told me that it did support a feature, and then I implemented it, and then it didn't work because it didn't actually support the feature. It was just wrong. It just straight up hallucinated. Knowing when not to trust AI is the hardest part of using it. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is how do you know when to trust it when you don't know what you're doing, when you're still a new person? Will you show one of your complex scripts for the game? No. I mean, I show code from the game all the time. If there's something specific you want to look at. As an advanced game maker, do I use AI? Yeah, I do. I don't use it for assets though. So what I use it for is mainly for coding, because it's really useful for coding. I still do all of my like art and music and sounds myself. I don't use AI for that. But like even if you did, I don't really think that's big of a deal. I think the main thing is that it needs to be good looking. And the big problem with AI is that it gives you the opportunity to be lazy. And there are a lot of AI assets out there that you can just tell. You can just tell that they're AI assets because they look bad. They look sloppy, and that's where the AI slop mantra comes from. But there are people who use it in a way that just like elevates their art. There are artists who are amazing artists, and then they can use AI just to like push it a little bit farther, to maybe make the shading more realistic, or fix any like strange artifacts, or scale it up. That's a common thing, is scaling up artwork. I think that stuff is perfectly fine. I think that it becomes problematic when someone is like, I can't do art, I won't learn how to do art, I'm just going to prompt AI to generate a bunch of stuff and then hope it works out. I think that tends to lead to pretty poor quality. Hardest AI for an enemy. Not at the moment. So my enemy AI is kind of lacking at the moment. I'll show mob, because the mob has the mob mind. And I have this organized where the mob mind, mob navigation, this is probably a good one. Because mob navigation uses a lot of like points on the grid to figure out where any particular mob should move. And I would say that this file is a pretty good example of complex code. And another one is comments. These comments were definitely AI generated. I'm certain about that. You know how you can tell, by the way, I don't know if you knew this. Do you know the difference between a dash and the M dash? Because if you type a dash on your keyboard, it creates this character, right? Like if you type dash dash dash, it looks like that. So like, why does the other one look longer? It's a different character. Like that. And this character is not on our keyboard. So like, if you ever see this character, that is, it's a sign. It's a sign that AI was used, at least in part, for generating this text, because humans don't, they almost never use this character. Humans do not use this character. Or like here, if I was typing this comment, I would not use an M dash here. I would use a regular dash like that. So whenever you see these, that's kind of like, that's a small sign that maybe AI was involved. The difference between a dash and an M dash is nobody ever used an M dash before AI. Literally, yeah. I mean, I think that publishers for books would use them because in this context where you're using it like a semicolon, I think that M dash is what you're supposed to use, like grammatically speaking. And this is a different character, but because the M dash doesn't exist on a keyboard, humans don't type them. In a literary sense, exactly. I think that people did use them for like book publishing, because I do remember seeing M dashes used as semicolons or like as a speaking method, you know, just like an affectation basically. Sentence stopper. Only way to do it is with win plus dot. Oh, can you do it with win plus dot? Oh, I see. Okay, well, I didn't know that. I guess that's not bad. I'm just gonna keep this. He can stay. I used to use M dash all the time, and now I hate my life. That's relatable. Internet, not really. Most M dash users I know are Mac OS people, because Option plus Shift plus minus is the M dash. I wonder if there is a command for that for Windows. Does Windows keyboard have M dash? It is Alt. No, you can't. It's Alt 05 or 0. I didn't even know that you could do that. Did you guys know that you could call custom characters? Look at this. I didn't know that you could do this. So if you hold down the Alt key and then you use the number pad 0151, it made a new M dash. It's ASCII on Windows. Wow, I didn't know that you could just manually type in ASCII codes. I knew about ASCII codes. I just didn't know that you could manually use them to type in real time using the Alt key. That's pretty cool. But yeah, all I did is there's Alt codes on Windows, and there's like, I guess you can do this for all sorts of different. Let me try like a random one. I'll try like Alt 0167. Oh, how about Alt 0155? Aha, that's looking pretty nifty. 0198. That's awesome. I just knew about it and I forgot again. We learn new things every day. Literally, I do. It feels like Alt 0223 was commonly used in forums. Oh, really? Alt 0223. To make Pokemon. Oh, I bet that there's a different one. Like 0224 maybe. 0225. It's close. We're getting there. But that's a really cool thing. I didn't know that you could do that on a keyboard. I love that. You can also type invisible characters using the same ASCII technique. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. When I was interviewing, I remember hearing about a strategy that people would use where they would write a bunch of invisible text onto their resume so that when you would submit your resume, there would be all these like invisible keywords that the like filters would pick up on. I don't think that actually works anymore. The A accent is just a key on your keyword. Oh, awesome. That's neat. If you don't have a numpad, you can press the Windows key plus period to open a menu with a list of symbols. Yeah, I actually didn't know about that one either. Oh, you can put emojis in here. I guess that makes sense. Am I less than 30? I just turned 30. So I just turned 30 last month. Actually, 1 month ago, because it was June 20th. So I am 30 in 1 month. Is Lua Love 2D harder than Godot? Yeah, I'd say that Love 2D, or I'd say a framework is generally going to be harder to use than an engine like Unity or Godot or GameMaker. I think GameMaker is really easy. Unity and Godot are very approachable. Something that like Love 2D, like what you're seeing here, it's all code. It's just all code based, and you kind of have to have a familiarity with working with code bases to catch up with it. I still think that newcomers can work with it. It's just I think the barrier to entry is a little bit higher for something like this compared to Godot. Did I listen to Bo Burnham's Turning 30 song? I haven't heard that one yet. I might have heard it like through proxy because I've heard so much Bo Burnham content. I might have just not realized that's who it was. But AI can save a lot of time in coding. It can. That's the big challenge, right? Is that if you are building something here, how about this suggestion, this idea? Let's take AI out of the discussion. Let's pretend we're not talking about AI. We're talking about an expert. So pretend like we are not using AI, but instead I have someone next to me who is a software development expert. They've been doing it for 30 years and they know the answer to any question. They are a genius. Okay? So let's pretend like that's what we're working with instead of AI. If that's the case, you could assign this expert to work on features for the game. And then this expert will go off on their own, and then they'll code a bunch of stuff, and they'll write features, and they'll test it, and then they'll give it back to you, and they'll say, here it is. It works. I have this thing ready for you. It's done. And then you'll say, great. But the problem is, the expert coded it. I was not involved at all. They did all the work, and they gave me the product. That's nice. It was very fast and convenient. But I did not do it. So I didn't learn anything. I didn't gain any experience. Greetings, how's it going? Thank you for stopping in. We'll turn 30 in October. Nice. Yeah, I didn't gain any experience from that stuff. It just happened very conveniently. So that's the trade-off, is that if I hired someone to help me with my game, I can have them do a lot of this work. And it'll be faster, it'll be good, it'll be high quality, it'll be fine. But I won't be the one doing it, and so I will have less familiarity with the code. I will have a harder time debugging it. I'll have a harder time reading through it. Maybe they have some personal choices with how they name their variables or organize their code, or maybe they use tabs rather than spaces. Maybe they use camel case rather than underscores. There's a million different things that can change between person to person. And if I did it myself, it would take longer, but I would learn from that. So that's what it boils down to, is AI is an expert. Do you want the expert to do the work for you so that you can get to the final product quicker? Or do you want to do it yourself so that you can grow your skills, gain a very solid understanding of the product, and like it's also like a long-term commitment thing too. Like, do you feel like you want to actually take this to the finish line where you want to understand it fully? Then you probably should be more involved. And this expert that I'm talking about, some people were asking earlier, like, can you use AI to help learn? And I think the answer is yes, in the same way that you can use an expert to help learn. If the expert just gives you the answers to any question, you will not learn. You might pick up some details here and there, but if they're just answering all the questions for you and just doing the hard parts for you, you're probably not going to gain much skill. But if the expert was by your side and was kind of just guiding you, we talked about the Socratic method of teaching earlier. If the AI was challenging you with follow-up questions, giving you guidance for places to look, things to consider, but it wasn't necessarily giving you the answers or solving the challenge for you, I think that could be beneficial. But if the expert, like the human expert, if the expert was just telling me everything, just doing it all for me, then that's not helpful. It's helpful for getting to the final product. So that's the thing is, a team of developers, like they're allocating the work to different people. There's no one person that's an expert on everything. And that allows them to disperse the work and get things done faster. But that also runs the risk of someone not knowing something, or like the director, for example. They don't have full context on something, so that makes it harder for them. First got into coding, I worked alongside that expert. Unless we were writing a crunch course, then he would just tell me what to do. That makes sense. I'm glad that you had a good one. I think so too. AI can be very helpful as a sidekick. I agree. There have been times where I've used AI responsibly like that, where I've used it to learn, and I felt like I didn't just ask it for the answer. I felt like I asked it for challenging questions, guiding questions, and it led me towards learning. But there's also been times where it's just like, I'm in a hurry. I want to get this thing done. I just want to know what to do. I want to get this fixed. And this is the scary thing about these coding AIs is, let's say there's a bug in your code. There's a bug where, I don't know, the player's bob animation sometimes like glitches out and it resets. Today, the AI coding agents are so talented that if you say, hey, if you go into the AI chat window and you say, hey, there's a problem in the game where the bobbing animation sometimes resets or it glitches out. Can you research and figure out what's going wrong? It's very good at debugging. It is very good. It's able to solve any bug I throw at it, as long as it's like a reasonable one. It's very good at bug fixing. And the reason why this is important is because bug fixing is a very time-consuming task for humans. I did lots and lots of bug fixing throughout my life. It takes a long time to isolate the problem down to the specific file, to the specific line, to the specific function, what exactly is going wrong, what edge case is causing this problem. It takes a lot of skill and experience to figure out how to properly debug and test things. But AI is so good at debugging and finding issues and problem solving that you don't need to anymore. But you should, because it's a good skill, but it's so fast. If your goal is to get a game, oh man, it's such a hard crisis, right? I want people to debug and learn their own code, but these tools are getting so useful. It's hard for me to convince someone, hey, you should spend the whole day debugging that problem by hand, when this tool exists that can debug it very quickly. That's a hard sell. But I do think that, like, when I went through that process myself, I learned so much from debugging things. It's really useful for debugging, but I like being able to debug stuff on your own. I learned a lot. So it's that balance. It's like, it's a useful tool, but if it does all the work for you, you're not going to learn. I learned by doing a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I think the mistakes are a big aspect of it. Think of it like an instrument. You know, if you were learning how to play guitar, you have to play really crappy songs and really easy songs just to get a feel for how to play guitar. And it would be very tempting, you know, to say, well, why would I learn how to play guitar when there are like synthesizers that can play perfect arpeggiated guitar licks? Like, I don't need to learn how to play drums. There are drum machines that can naturally build perfect drum beats, like, automatically. I don't need to learn how to play drums. But if you want to learn how to play drums, you do have to play drums. You have to do it yourself. If you want to learn how to code, you have to code yourself. It's nice that there are drum machines that can do the drumming for you. Like the drums that we're listening to right now, definitely, it wasn't a real drummer that made this drum beat that we're hearing right now. It was just some programmer in Japan who like coded a really cool song. And like, that's a weird thought though, isn't it? That computers are better musicians than people are, but people still learn instruments. I still go to see live musicians all the time. And also there are musicians that just perform their recorded music, like DJs. I think that's fine too. For new programmers, given that their code isn't likely to be very long or complicated, would it be too problematic to have some AI point out issues if they implemented to the fix themselves? Would that hinder learning too much? I think that's fine. I think that in general, it's always a balance. It's always a balance, because if you have no tools at your disposal, no internet, no AI, you can't look anything up, then you won't learn very much, because you're just going to beat your head against the wall for months and you won't have the information. If you're missing information, this is what I mean. If you need information and then gaining that information will allow you to fix the problem, that's the best. AI is perfect for giving you information, but it's also perfect for solving the problem for you. So I think the answer to the question is, if you're able to use it to give you information that you can then use to solve the problem, that's the best way. But it's tempting just to say, solve this problem, fix this problem for me. Also, Sephark, I like that emote. That's really funny. Do the emotes show up on Child Chat? Yeah, they do. That's good. I'm gonna write that as a note though, is that when Janet did the raid earlier, it didn't show the raid message pop up, and I think I want to have that visible. It's not 100% or 0, you have to find a middle ground. I think that's true. I think in general that's true. Yep, they're showing up on an overlay. I'm glad. The way the overlay emotes work is it gets the URL of the emote. All the emotes are like web page URLs. I think that I can even copy image link, and if I put this image link into a new tab, yeah, look at that. So like, it literally is just like a URL at the top of the page, and that's how it renders the image in ChalaChat. It's all just, everything is just web-based. The way, like, I'm so happy that I spent my career doing web development stuff, because everything that I work on tends to circle back to that. And I'm very happy I got that experience. The emote CDN is smoking hot. They have to be serving these emotes like crazy. At the core of the issue with AI, particularly generative models, is its mathematical reliance on pattern matching rather than genuine understanding. These systems are essentially advanced probabilist. I think that was true. So Solo, I know what you're saying. I think that was true. I don't think that's true anymore. I agree that the way that it functions is through pattern recognition and pattern matching. But you should see the level of intuition, because that's the keyword I like to use. Is AI has crazy intuition now. You don't have to be hyper specific. You don't have to tell it which files to look at. You don't have to do anything. It's able to use its intuition in a very shocking human way. And I agree with you that the way that it works is still mathematical, like probability, text generation stuff. I agree with that. But when it mimics human intuition to such a convincing level, I'm telling you, I can't believe how little context I need to give it and how it's able to read in between the lines so deeply. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Can the devs hard code the background music? Can the devs hard code the background music? I don't know what you mean by that. The background music for like a game, it's always like it's just like a file, like an MP3 file, and then the game just streams it in real time. I think AI is great for those who just love problem solving and terrible for those who love coding, if that makes sense. I think I see what you mean. They can't intuit if you push it outside the training data, though. I keep testing with things I'm quite sure the training data doesn't have, and they just guess randomly at that point. You know what? That's a fair point. I have noticed that, too, is a problem that they have is they do have a tendency, when they aren't confident, to guess. And that guessing, you could argue, has an intuition aspect to it, but it is still just like guessing and checking, like you said. It is still just like pattern recognition to get to that point. Anything AI always boils back down to that, though. Like, even in sci-fi, all of those AIs still boil down to lines of code. It's just like, it's reaching points of complexity that it starts to mimic what a human can do. Because, like, what is a human brain? What are human thought processes? I don't even know. It's like a bunch of electrical signals in our brain. And, like, that's what a computer is, too. It's a bunch of electrical signals on a computer. So, like, if a brain making these, like, intuitive thoughts, is it that much different from an AI coming to these intuitive thoughts? Because we have intuition from pattern recognition, too, right? Like, we were kids and we grow up doing all of these lifestyle things, and that leads us to recognize what's normal and what's not normal. And that's how we make our choices and decisions, I guess. I just figured out that I was doing my dialogue system so wrong and that there was an easier way, so I'm gonna fix that today. Awesome, that's cool. How does the music scroll work on Chalo Chat? Do you need to have the music in the program or what? Oh, that's a good question. So the music in the game is my own music files. So I have a folder of MP3s that I am pointing the application to look at. And then when it goes to that folder, it just iterates through every MP3 file, adds it to a playlist, and then that's how it's here. And yeah, it displays the text above me. It's really nice. I think that we were able to discuss quite a few awesome things this stream. We got a lot of stuff chatted about. We didn't actually do all the things that I was wanting to do. I was actually wanting to work more on humans because I worked more on them. I drew these characters down here, and like this last guy, I really like how this one looks. So maybe next stream I can come back to this sheet and work more on humans because yeah, we didn't really do that this stream. Of course, it's a faulty analogy. Every analogy is like, it has its limits. I'm with you, I know. But on that note, I'm gonna call it quits for today. It was a really good stream. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Janet, for the raid. That was a huge, awesome thing. That was so cool. You do the one on the left. Trista, thank you for being here. The Tony is in the chat. Tris Pixels. Yeah, so Tris Pixels has done a lot of these sprites. Tris Pixels made this sprite here. And you also helped with this one. Oh yeah, you made this one too. Tris Pixels made, where is it? I was showing off your castle earlier today. Tris Pixels. So he's a big member of a big part of the game. He's helped out with a lot of different sprites for it. Thank you again for the help with that. Tristaff, we'll probably go back to making more sprites soon. It's just, I still have a lot of catching up to do. In fact, there's still some sprites that you've made that I still need to put into the game. I'm just got a lot of catching up to do. For someone working in the software dev industry currently, is it even worth it to deep learn the traditional coding stuff, or is the era of manually coding only to get more and more questionable? I think at the moment it's still worth learning traditional coding stuff. So first of all, is that if you have to interview for a job, if you want a job, they're going to interview you and they're going to ask you tough questions, and you're not going to be able to use AI for that. I think that in like the far off dystopian future, we might be able to use AI for interviews, but no, actually, we won't. We won't. Because you know what? When I interviewed, I wasn't allowed to Google things. I wasn't allowed to use Stack Overflow. I wasn't allowed to look up the documentation for Java when I was interviewing. I just had to know it. I had to memorize it. It was, and you know what? It was a waste of time back then for me to do that. I complained all the time. It is such a waste of time for me to have to memorize all of these dumb Java functions when in the real world, I'm gonna have Google up. I'm gonna Google the documentation. I'm not gonna blindly code a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna have the documentation up. I'm gonna make sure everything's written correctly and do it that way. Show me how to prompt a bubble chart. Honestly, very real possibility that's gonna happen. So I found it so annoying that they would not let me use the internet during our interviews. So if they wouldn't let me use the internet, they're not gonna let you use an AI model. You know, maybe the really progressive like startups will, where they're gonna be like, we don't care about your coding skill, we just want people to get good at that stuff. Lady Freya, no one's going to memorize the whole documentation for a programming language. We used to. I'm telling you, I used to. But these days, there's no reason to. You would only have to memorize them for interviews. But in the real world coding space, you would not memorize anything. You would have the internet and documentation readily available. In fact, I would discourage people from coding blindly and using your own memory because things change. There are updates. And it's not like English or Spanish where the words are always the same always. You know, there are sometimes updates to programming languages where the best practices change. And sometimes there are updates that streamline things and make it easier. One of the first jobs I applied, I had written a test. It was in 2016. Wow. Yeah, the written test, I remember those. Those were brutal. When I interviewed for Microsoft and Google and Amazon, I interviewed for all the big ones. They all had written tests. And then after you do the written test, then you actually go on site and then you do the in-person coding ones. And I failed so many of them. It's so hard. It's so brutal. And it's not because I was dumb. I was actually pretty good at it, but it's just so competitive and so difficult. You know, you have these really hard programming problems, and it's so easy just to get caught up on some problem that's hard to figure out. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop yapping and get back to wrapping up the stream because I'm hungry. I'm gonna go grocery shopping and I'm gonna go get some food. So thanks everyone for being here. It was a really good stream. Thank you all. I will be back next week for some more Moonshire Monday. And I think this week on Twitch, I'm going to stream Dewdrop Dynasty. We'll see. That might happen on Wednesday or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. But keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm excited for that. And thanks again to all the folks that were here today, like Baron and Solo, Mero, Lagario, Rethanon, Tristaf, Maronyan. And then on Twitch, we have Sinak, Rokheb, Baron, Sephark, Diamano Tari. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your names. Some of these are a little bit tricky to say. But then, of course, thank you to everyone else from the raid, like Janet and Rokheb and Round, everyone else. Wolf, Totally Not Brain Rot, Purple Svelte. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you all next week for another Moonshire Monday. Thanks, everyone. Bye.